everybody, and welcome along to the GPVWC. We are here for Formula Sprint 2, round 13 here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore. It is the updated layout of this track used in 2023 in Formula 1. It's a preview for you ahead of the Formula 1 Grand Prix, which I believe is this weekend. 4.928 kilometers circuit length. It's a very fast track as well. Turn 16 through turn 20, totally remodeled, creating a very interesting flat out section. I'm Tom Dillon, and alongside me for the race this evening is Ed Hunter. Welcome along, Ed, to the broadcast. I think first thing to address here is that we've got a flurry of penalties after the pile-up that we had at Monza.
Yeah, we were both commentating on it at the time a few weeks ago, weren't we? And it was that race 2 pile-up where I think more than half the field was involved in it, sadly. It was everyone from about 6th or 7th downwards, just completely... there was one incident, and then we had several other incidents in its wake because everyone tried to just speed through, ended up getting caught in the crash rather than avoiding it. And yeah, so a multitude of group penalties, I believe, in the offing.
Yes, we have. So, well, just plenty. I know Tizano, 15 plays grid penalty. Justin van der Smissen got a 35-second time penalty. 15 plays grid penalty for Sokolowski. Nick Kuiper getting a 30 place grid penalty. And I mean, there's so many to go through that I think that we can get through every single one of them throughout the course of the next 10 minutes or so, the next 12 minutes or so. So we'll just leave that to the race control to sort out, and we'll just see what our grid is. Michael Tuamala is the first out onto the track. He's got purple in the first sector, so we'll be keeping an eye on his lap time as we go throughout the day. He is, of course, the first car on the track, so he obviously is going to go purple in the middle sector as well. Interesting that he's held on to that purple in the first sector, though. And it is interesting to try and get your bearings here at this Singapore track, now knowing that we've got that reprofiled sector 3.
Yes, I remember back in the day, Tom, and they might even still do it. They were each sector, the barriers on either side. It was a shower of sparks being kicked up by the red and black Scuderia Cap Clay cars. Tuamala sets the first major lap on the board, a 1:47.5 there. But it used to be that I think you'd have each. I forget what the specific colours would be. I believe it was. Used to be, I think, yellow for the first sector, green for the middle, and I think purple or something for the final sector. But I think they've completely switched it around now. As we go towards the end of Sector 1, everything seems to be blue. So I think they might actually still use 3 colours, but it's completely different to the ones that I'm remembering, Tom. As we look, here's Sector 2, and it's all yellow. As Mateusz Pisgazan, who of course won last time out for Reading Game. Reading Game's first win in, how many years, Tom? Was it 2 or 3 years? Or
4 years.
Like that. Yes, there we go. I remembered it being long, but not quite that long. Pisgazan, there we go, going down the reprofiled section of circuit, which of course cuts out the infamous turn just before the that went behind the grandstand, essentially, which is where, of course, Nelson Piquet Jr. had his infamous Crashgate incident, which has become subject of so much debate recently, although I guess it's not necessarily that, but all the fallout surrounding it, I guess, as Pisgazan puts himself into the top 10. There's Sokolowski also setting the timing screens alight. The Academy entry, so very, very important for Mateusz, another Mateusz in the field, to stake his claim, because, of course, if he can impress in that Academy entry, climbing all over the curbs there as he just approaches the Esplanade Bridge, that is not going to do the suspension any favours, is it, Tom?
No, thankfully suspension damage not modelled in that way. In these cars, they're a little bit more robust than that, I'm thankful to say. But Mateusz is going to go here through Sector 2 and into Sector 3, I should say. You're 3 times per second down on the fastest lap of the day so far. 1:47.3 is the time to beat, still by Michael Tuamala. Just a couple of corners to go. This is where it gets interesting, because you apply the throttle here, then you basically take a cut through look straight down into turn 19, and actually Mateusz is going to find himself in pit lane and getting himself ready to go for another run. Here's the other Mateusz Pisgazan, who is on another flyer lap, 0.2 seconds off in the first sector, looking pretty decent in the second as well. Just avoids the curb there on the left-hand side, and he's clawed back a little bit of that time in Sector 2. Really coming alive towards the second half of this season. It has been due to Pitchcan obviously getting that win last time out. Speaking of wins, Luke Mitchell, by the way, is in position to win the championship this evening if he is to score 23 points more than Roy Seifert over the course of the 2 races that we've got here this evening. So we're keeping an eye on that. Pitchcan crosses the line. He goes up into 5th. That's a fantastic lap time for him. Luke Mitchell, 149.7. He'll be hoping to improve on that, but I don't think I've seen Roy Seifert here in the grid this evening.
I don't think I've seen him either, so that's 3 people then, including Race Direction, that hasn't seen him. That's, of course, the wonderful Vincent Gutt on cameras. We look at Mike Bell trying to negotiate the Marina Bay circuit, filling in at King's Racing, but they've the front wing. Mike Bell has lost the front wing middle of the lap and decided to plough on regardless. Then maybe he's trying to take advantage of the fact that at least 4 corners have been taken off of the circuit with the removed and reprofiled final sector section. It does seem a bit, maybe he's just trying to get to the pits rather than just resetting and abandoning completely. I guess Mike Bell still learning the circuit though, so even without a front wing, it's sort of worth carrying on.
Joshua Dexter, a name I don't think I've seen so far this season. I apologise to Joshua if I have, but it's just escaping my mind. But
he's done academy as well this season as Joshua, and he's been sort of fairly competitive. A couple of top 6s, top 7s there. Not sure he's been going quite as well in FS2, sadly, but RNG, they've been slowly improving, both drivers, as Dexter sets 14th fastest lap, and he is actually ahead of Luke Mitchell at the moment, who's still down in 26th with 1:49.7, his best effort, but I think the Alpha Sierra could go probably a couple of seconds quicker if he can get his act together. So I don't think we've seen the best of Luke Mitchell quite yet, but Dexter, nonetheless, doing a very, very respectable job.
Luke Mitchell is in 26th at the moment. He'll be hoping to return to the top step of the podium in the current absence of Roy Seifert, of course. I'm going to refer to my spotter guide in a moment and try and figure out where Roy actually is this evening. Luke Mitchell, though, is looking pretty comfortable. 1/10 of a second off in the first sector. Marco Altoimala still at the top of your standings. We'll see what he can do for this very technical sector 2. And right now, Luke Mitchell has that race car hooked up absolutely perfectly, and he's very, very close to the walls as well. Will set himself up for this second DRS zone on the circuit. In fact, 3 DRS zones on this circuit. So this is the 3rd. Then he'll get himself set up once again for 16 and 17. This is effectively the final corners on the circuit. 1 more to go in the kink of turn 18, then turn 19. Here's the straight then for Luke Mitchell to try and find a little bit of extra pace in that car. He's only 0.003 of a second off of pole position at the moment, and he's going faster in this 3rd sector as well. That's very close to the wall on the right-hand side. 1 more corner to go, flicks the car in, keeps it just about to the wall on the right-hand side, gets across the line, and isn't fastest, but he's close, 0.09 of a second. He's definitely got pace in that Alpha Sierra.
Yeah, absolutely. So Luke Mitchell deciding halfway through the session to plonk in an absolutely storming lap there, but marginally slower than Mikael Tuomala, who, of course, remind me, Tom, was Tuomala, I think it was Tuomela I'm thinking of, who was in that fight for victory in race 1 at Monza last time out. It was Tuomala, yeah. Tuomala got a post-race penalty despite crossing the line first. I think victory did go to the other driver, and that was Patrick Magnussen, of course, who's qualified 4th at the moment, just ahead of his teammate Tuomela, who's a very similar name to Tuomala in terms of the last name. So pretty crucial not to get the pair confused as Patrick Magnussen slides his way through. That must be turn 9 as he approaches turn 10, the old site of the old Singapore sling chicane, of course removed several years ago, and he is up by a significant margin in the 1st sector then, which of course is the 32.2 he set, so a 10th quicker than Luke Mitchell actually.
Another driver who quietly is having a pretty decent season, heading himself up into sector 2 then. Patrick Magnussen, he has won, of course. He won at Monza, but he won before that as well, I'm pretty sure. Patrick Magnussen in this season. He got himself onto the podium a couple of times, in a second in Hungary. So actually the win just escaped him, second in Australia as well. So the win has just escaped him up until that post-race at Monza. However, I'm sure he would like to cross the line in first at some point in this season, and that right now has evaded him. He's very close on driver's right to that wall. We'll see if this is going to be a pole position. I highly doubt it, and in fact it's not. It's not even an improvement. He stays fourth fastest.
Mitchell though.
3 minutes to go. Luke Mitchell has jumped up to pole position.
Great lap from Luke Mitchell. So that middle sector, 44.3. It was a couple of tenths faster than anyone else in the middle sector alone. That was enough to just overhaul Tuamala by just under a tenth. But yeah, of course, it would be a bit of I think a blow for Tuamala to lose the win, of course, in controversial circumstances with that final lap incident. But also, I think for Patrick Magnussen, I think he would dearly have loved to celebrate immediately after rather than winning because of a penalty post-race. But hey, a win is a win, and I'm sure he will bank the points happily either way. And for Luke Mitchell, this is ideal for his championship, because if he can win this first race with Royce Seifert nowhere in sight, then it's going to be over. 25 points, that's more than enough for the 23 that he needs to seal this championship up before the end, Tom.
Absolutely, and I think it would feel a little bit on default. Royce Seifert isn't on the spotter guide, so I think it's safe to say he's not going to be here this evening, which does mean that Luke Mitchell can effectively wrap up the championship in the first race. We'll have to see what third place is doing as well. But no, Tuamala now, I should say, in the KV86 powerhouse car, is heading his way through sector 3, and he's very fast in that first sector, not so fast in the second. Hopefully it all evens out and he's even faster in the third. We'll wait and see what Noah Tuamala is able to do through the final couple of corners he goes. This very awkward little chicane, then you go out into the final section of the racetrack, final corner, turn 19. We'll see if it's good enough for Noah Tuamala, on for a very promising lap time at the moment. Jumps ahead of his teammate, jumps ahead of Maxime Bilou as well, and up into third position. So Noah Tuamala very happy with that one.
Yeah, I've noticed with that reprofiled turn 16, 17, because the longer, the higher speed you approach going in there, really turns 17 into a bit of a death trap, because you have to go so much because you're arriving at such high speed and you're carrying that speed all the way through the chicane. It really makes you understeer ever so slightly out towards the wall, as Ockenhauer has a bit of a twitch on exit there as he crosses the Espionade Bridge. The HP Hut Performance Engineering car looking to break just into the top 10, trying to beat Tom Parker's King's Racing entry at the moment, who is 2 tenths shy of the previous lap with a minute left to go.
Well, up in 11th position, he'll be hoping to breach that top 10. However, this lap time, not the most impressive of his life. Very close to the right-hand side wall. Once again, throws the car into turn 19. Lots of rotation there. Almost too much rotation. Might just lose him a little bit of lap time. And as he crosses the line, he won't jump up. He does improve. 148.1 is pretty fast. However, it's not quite fast enough for him at the moment.
Was good enough to beat Terence Grech, who just before him leapfrogged him just before that moment. So very tight just to start in the top 10, of course. And I wonder as well what this grid's going to look like once all the penalties from Monza Race 2 are applied. I think it could look very different from what we're seeing now, Tom. As we look at Tom Parker, another Tom, going through the final corner to try and get deeper into the top 10 for King's Racing. He goes 6th fastest, 147.7. So very tidy effort there, just beating Sokolowski.
Bobby Vokenop is green in the first sector, only 900ths of a second off of your pole time. And as we go to the checkered flag, looks like Luke Mitchell has got pole position wrapped up for the time being, with Tuamala and Tuamala into the pits. But Bobby, and the final opportunity, will be trying to jump himself up into the top 15, maybe even up into the top 10. We'll wait and see. The margin at the pole is 900ths of a second. Maxime Bilou is on a lap, however, is 32.5 in the first sector, so he is not exactly competitive. Bobby is down in the second sector, yellow lap time in the second, so not the ideal time for him at the moment, and as he goes through into Sector 3, we'll see if Bobby Vaganov is able to jump himself up anywhere at all. I don't think, though. This is going to be an improvement, Ed.
Nope, but the good news for Bobby Vakinov is that a couple of drivers ahead of him, such as Sokolowski, have got 15 place grid penalties coming their way. So Vakinov does actually climb up to 14th as well, with a pretty decent final sector there. And so that puts him ahead of Mike Bell, crucially, who has decided to plonk a new front wing on. And Dan Hajek gets himself up to 11th there with a very, very late effort. So that's good news for a reading game, because I think both of their cars are going to start in the top 10.
Well, Dan Hayek just slightly outside in 11th position.
Well, no, but he'll gain because of Sokolowski's
yes,
penalty.
Of course.
Yeah,
so yeah, there you go. You're right on that one, Ed. We'll see what Matthews can do through the final few corners, and if he's able to jump up. But with that second sector time, I don't think it may happen for him. I think he'll stay down there in 9th position. We'll see if there's anything miraculous. The line crosses the line, and there is no improvement, and he blows his engine just for good fun. I hope he's planning on paying for that, as Florian Hasse is not able to improve. 147.9. So it is Luke Mitchell who is on pole position. I believe we'll be able to go to your results in a moment.
I wouldn't worry about it, Tom. Engines grow on trees, don't they?
Bobby's going on another lap. And that seems rather impossible, I have to say.
Yeah, unless this is a very, very quick in lap he's doing. So.
Yes, well.
Slower in the middle sector, especially compared to his best efforts. So I think either way, this is a pretty inconsequential lap, Mr. Vakinov.
So there we go then. We're going to take the timing off of your screen, and just before we go to the warm-up, we'll take you through your results for this qualifying session. Luke Mitchell starts on pole position with Mikael Tuomala in second. Then it's Noah Tuomela in third, Maxime Pilou fourth, Patrick Magnussen and Massi Raboli fifth and sixth, Tom Parker, Mateusz Sokolowski, Mateusz Pishkan and Florian Hasse rounding out the top 10. These are just your results for the session, of course. Grid penalties are included. Dan Hayek in 11th, then these are slightly out of whack, aren't they? Craig Patterson, Magnus Hockenhaug, Terence Greg, Bobby Vakinov, Mike Bell and Luca Thylin. Then it's Joshua Dexter, Joe Gillett, good to see his name on the GPVWC grid. Nick Kuiper down in what I believe is actually 20th position, but it says 19th on there. Then, not quite rounding out your grid, actually, I should say, Justin Van der Smith and Luca Gray, Tommy Cuvian, Justin View and Dominic Scarpelli in for, obviously, Roy Seifert, the championship hopeful. Scott Morris behind him with Johannes Lepit, Brandon Roberts and Philip Sedorinsky. And that actually is the entire grid. So we're going to go to the warm-up session right now. There's 10 minutes on the clock. We'll see you in 10 minutes' time. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Formula Sprint 2. We're just getting to the end of our warm-up session here out at the Marina Bay Street Circuit in a race where pole sitter Luke Mitchell would quite easily wrap himself up the championship by the end of the day. Notionally speaking, he could, in theory, get it ahead of Maxime Bilou in this race. However, it won't be official as you see the championship standings, the live championship standings there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. However, it won't be officially confirmed until the end of that second race, of course. I'm Tom Dillon, alongside me is Edward Hunter. Ed, I mean, it's been a fantastic season for Luke Mitchell, absolutely blown away the competition.
He has, and Mitchell, of course, who we knew was a very, very quick, very accomplished driver, taking, ever since that double win from San Marino that he got, he's taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins since, even missed Silverstone and Belgium, and it didn't seem to dent his lead whatsoever. So that really shows you the dominance he's had, that he's rarely ever off the podium, and especially race ones he does incredibly well at, and race twos he always tends to, as a result, get into the top 6, top 7 if possible. Even Monza last time Matty actually got second place in race 2 behind Matthias Pisgazan. So yeah, I think it's hard to really fault Luke Mitchell's season, and now he really just needs 23 points with Roy Seifert unavailable to wrap it up. But as you said, Maxime Bilou still technically with a mathematical chance, but it's going to be fading fast, I think, by the end of race 1 here.
Yes, and the gap effectively would have to be 47 times 3, so 141 points by the end of the day to whoever is in second place. If it was to be by the end of race 1, then you'd have to add 23 to that, I believe. So that would mean that we would need, if I do the maths on my calculator, there'd be 70 points. Oh, I'm trying to figure that out. Oh, yes, okay. Yeah. So it's confusing, basically. But point is, Luke Mitchell has got a very real chance at the end of the day, wrapping this up.
Yeah, I think Maxime Bilou is about 12 points away from being knocked out of championship contention, basically. So if he loses 12 points to Luke Mitchell here, then it could realistically be over for him, unless he has an amazing race too. But something a few places behind on the grid. Bilou could well get on the podium here, and I think that might be just enough to keep the points battle technically alive. And of course, being technically alive is the best kind of alive. So I'm sure we're in for an exciting race. But Luke Mitchell, I expect, will be looking to just control things from the front, which is we often see that at Singapore, don't we? It's very, very difficult to overtake. And although that new layout change might create just one extra overtaking opportunity, and I think, given that it's FS2, we can still expect fireworks, Tom.
And thank you, Owen, in the chat for saying that if Luke wins race 1 and Maxime scores no points, then Luke can win the championship by 1 point. That is effectively what my calculator was saying as well. But there you go. That's Owen confirming it for us. So thank you very much, Owen, for that. That makes a lot of sense as well. So Luke Mitchell technically able to win it in this race. I imagine if he gets the fastest lap as well, then by countback he'll also win it. But at the end of the day, we're at a stage where we're just waiting. We know Luke Mitchell is going to finish at least one of our next 6 to 9 races, or however many we've got left in this championship. 2, 4, 6. We've got 8 races left, and we know he's going to finish at least one of them, and that Roy Seifert probably isn't going to win every single one of them. So I think we're just effectively waiting for the time that Luke does cross the line as champion. Obviously, Japan, the UAE, so Abu Dhabi, and Brazil next up in the championship.
Yeah, and I guess with Roy Seifert absent, it really is Bilou that is the more important gap at the moment, with him being able to score points here. But anyway, as for everyone else, there'll be a bit of personal glory up for grabs, Tom, as we see all the cars start to populate on the grid. 16 laps in race 2, 16 laps in race 1, so the distance is about the same apparently. But yeah, this is a great track to go into in the back end of the season, because it really rewards not just patience, but also being very good at opportunistically being able to find where the gaps are. It's a real tough track to really make up ground in. So really, the drivers that are after their group penalties, they're going to be a bit further down the order. They're going to have to be very, very careful to not hit the back of someone, or worse, create another traffic jam like we saw at Monza, heaven forbid. But anyway, as Luke Mitchell leaves the grid, this could be a very, very important race for him in sealing his championship, depending on what happens to Bouliot behind.
And let's have a look at Luke Mitchell on pole position, back out to O'Mara on row 1, Noah Tuamela and Maxime Bilou on row 2. And it's Patrick Magnussen and Massi Raboli. Starting on row 3, Tom Parker and Matthews Pishkan up to P8. These guys are the beneficiaries of some grid penalties behind. Florian Hasse is in 9th, with Dan Hayek rounding out the rest of the top 10. Greg Patterson and Magnus Ockenhaug, your row 6. And it's Tevin Skrek and Bobby Vakanov behind them, with Mike Bell and Luca Thielen up to row 8. Then it's Joshua Dexter and Joe Gillett, 17th and 18th. Justin van der Smissen and Luca Gray, your top 20. It's Justin Ruel and Mateusz Sokolowski. Mateusz under a heavy grid penalty. Dominic Scarpelli and Scott Morris, top 24. Then it is Johannes Lepit and Brandon Roberts, with Filip Sorinsky and finally Tommy Cuvier rounding out the grid. Ed, predictions? Or sorry, your Dix and Nick Kuiper have jumped in since that warm-up session. So who are your predictions for this race one?
Yeah, I think Dix and Kuiper had penalties anyway going in, so it does sort of make sense that they didn't do too much in qualifying. Predictions for the race, I think Mr. Tuamala could well be actually a big threat to Luke Mitchell here. And Luke Mitchell has got more to lose, with the title potentially being there to be wrapped up. But of course, with him being so far in the lead, in a way it does take the pressure off, because he knows it's a matter of when rather than if he can win this championship. But wouldn't be surprised if Tuamala, after what happened a few weeks ago in Monza, be very, very fired up to make amends, especially with Patrick Magnussen not too many places behind him, with Tuamela and Bouliot in between. So yeah, I think actually I will go with Tuamala. The win here, with Luke Mitchell second.
So here we go then, waiting for start of this race. New layouts of Singapore for 2023. The grid just snaking round. You can see the back of the grid getting themselves into position as well. We've got 31 cars out on the circuit, 30 cars I should say to be exact, out on the circuit. Kuiper rounding out the grid. He is going to start in 30th. Luke Mitchell is on pole, and we can go to the lights in FS2. It's lights out and away we go in Singapore, and it's a good start for Luke Mitchell, and I can see on the inside line it might be an even better start for Miguel Tuamala, looking to challenge for the lead as they go down into turn 1, swooping all the way around the outside. Is that Magnussen, as Mitchell is going to have a little bit of a half spin. It was Tuamala who gets the lead of the race. Luke Mitchell trying to hold on to second position as Patrick Magnussen is trying to go through into second himself. Luke Mitchell falls all the way down to third then on the first lap of the race, in the first few corners of this race, and he got very, very close to having a total spin.
Yeah, a brilliant first couple of corners for KV86 Powerhouse there. Tuamela just surviving contact with Mitchell, and now Magnussen again under attack as they go into turn 4. And as Mitchell been able to get up the inside, he's going to be stranded on the outside as they go into 5. And oh, that's Tuamala trying to go up the inside of both of them and being denied there, as it's getting very, very hectic behind as we go into the tight, twisty and technical second sector.
Maxime Bilou in 5th means that Luke Mitchell won't have done enough to win the championship right here, right now. Well, that will have to wait until race 2. That being said, Luke up in 3rd position. Well, he's got a still good chance of winning this race as a whole. Just looking at the gearbox of Patrick Magnussen at the moment, race 1 winner last time out, Noah Tuamela up there in the top of the order. 1.6 seconds is the gap between himself and second place. Rather productive first lap for him, so we'll be keeping an eye on his progress throughout the rest of this race. 16 laps ahead of us, and actually the entire grid through the rest of this track as we go through into the newly reprofiled Sector 3. It appears that Sector 2 definitely not a place full of overtaking opportunities, apart from for perhaps Justin Ruitt, who is trying to go down the inside of, I believe that would be Joe Gillett. It is in the 21st spot. Joe is a driver I know very well, drove endurance races for me in the ERC in the past. Tommy Kuvian is around the outside this time. He's made up some progress. He started dead last, and he's up into 24th position off of the first lap, trying to follow him through there. In the background appears to be Jorn Dix, I believe. It might not be Jorn Dix, it's Scott Pelly. There you go, it's the new Red Ben driver for this round. He's down the inside line, but it's going to be too wide. Two-lane racing will turn into four wide as they hit the brakes, and through around goes, I'm trying to see who went around. Scott Morris goes around. Dominic Scott Pelly is around the outside. He's trying to hold on to 24th position, loses out and holds on to 25th instead. That's Johannes Leppit who goes through back down the inside. Is Scarpelli. Van der Smissen is trying to attack him, I believe. Not Van der Smissen. Van der Smissen's teammate who's now into the wall and unable to hold the brakes as he goes back through. So that would actually be, as I look through my order.
Savinsky.
Yeah, Savinsky, you're right, Ed.
Oh dear. But while this is all going on, 1.7 is the gap between Tuan Miller and his teammate Magnussen. So Magnussen doing a great job holding Luke Mitchell at bay. And KV86 powerhouse, it sort of makes sense the way this first lap worked out to work in tandem with Tuan Miller, trying to build as big a gap as he can, and Magnussen putting out the anchors, holding up Luke Mitchell, not only stopping him from getting into second place and challenging for the win, but also stopping him from sealing the championship before due time, I guess. Although, as we said, he only really needs to finish across the two races. He needs sort of 4th and 6th essentially, and he needs Pouliot to be behind him in both of them. So at the moment he's doing the first part of what he needs to do, but ideally Luke Mitchell would like to win and try and wrap it up a race early, or several races early, I should say.
Well, up to 16 of this race. Podium seems to have settled down a little bit. Luke Mitchell up in 3rd position is looking to make progress ahead of Patrick Magnussen. Not the easiest for him though. Matthew Rapurli playing the wingman role in this season, just ticking along those points to try and secure the Alfa Sierra top step of the team's podium, the constructors' standings. And well, Rapurli is doing well with a few good points scoring finishes here. However, he's under pressure this time by Tom Parker. Tom Parker returning for King's Racing. We'll see if Rapurli is going to be able to hold on to that spot ahead of him, or indeed try and make some progress further ahead. By the looks of things, it's the latter. Maxime Bilou just holding off Rapurli for the time being, getting the better exit there. Rapurli, will he be able to dive down the inside? He won't. There was, I want to mention, on the graphic that GPVWC sent out on Twitter, if you've been keeping on with that before this race, or X, or whatever you choose to call it now, there is a 30% chance of rain.
There is, but despite the nighttime, it's showing a bright and sunny at the moment. 23-degree track temperature, as you say, Tom. The man lighting up the timing squeeze at the moment, Mikael Tuomala, getting that beautiful tail off the back of Luke Mitchell. Last lap around 148.9, a tenth quicker than the Alfa Sierra in front of him. And first sector again was a tenth quicker. So it really looks like Tuomala is trying to make amends for not being able to get up the inside and take advantage at the start, because the KV86s just went round the outside of both of them. So Tuomala, who I predicted to win, perhaps foolishly, as we look at Luca Gray fighting with one of the RNGs. Oh, and the two Academy entries of Sokolowski and Gillette, with Gillette alongside him as they go through turn 15, and hits the side of him, just understeers into him there, Tom.
He does now. Luca Gray is back down the inside. Just from Van der Smissen is under pressure, and down the inside goes one of Tommy Kuvian's cars. Redfern Racing getting involved as well. It's Jorn Dix, who's got a lot of traffic just ahead of him, a lot of scrapping traffic as well. We'll see if under the DRS he's going to be able to find his way through. Back to Luke Mitchell, who was caught right up to Patrick Magnussen, not able to find his way through just yet. And Maxime Bilou just 2 places behind. Luke is not in position to go through and win the championship at this stage in proceedings. However, he can definitely set himself on his way by trying to get past here and ahead of that KV86 powerhouse car of Patrick Magnussen, who is doing a wingman roll to his teammates actually very, very well indeed. Luke Mitchell getting the brakes applied as they go here through what is turn set 14 on this racetrack. There we go. Found the track map eventually. Well, not the greatest of overtaking opportunities at this stage.
Oh, certainly not, but Tuamala through, I think it was into turn 7 there, which is the sort of left-hander at the end of the really fast 5-6 section. He was just going really wide onto the exit curb, which is the sort of thing that you can get caught out on. And we've seen drivers trying to go too wide there, take the widest line they can, and going off track and actually be having to give places back because they just went outside the track to make overtakes in real life. So Tuamala, that really shows you just how much he's pushing to keep Luke Mitchell in sight. And if Tuamala makes a risky move, Luke Mitchell might have no option but to back off as Luca Gray goes deep on the brakes then into turn 14. And makes the move then ahead of, that must be, is that Joshua Dexter he's just got through there. But Dexter hasn't given up, cuts all the way to the inside, which becomes the outside for 16. Bit of lag for Luca Gray. And is Joshua Dexter going to be able to swing it around the outside? No, and now here comes Van der Smissen to attack him, and Dexter gets really loose at the final couple of corners, Tom.
Absolutely, and well, Justin Van der Smissen now has some action going on behind him as I think that's Scott Morris who is trying, with Joshua Dexter trying to get through. He goes around the outside this time of Tommy Cuvian, and he's just going to squeeze into that spot and hold on to 21st position. I thought for a second he didn't have a front wing, but it is actually just a black front wing, so so he's okay. Is my point there. Tom Parker now still looking at the back of Massi Raboli. Matthews Piscan is just behind, picking up the scraps of whatever happens here. Kings Racing going to be able to find themselves through. We've got a few replays of stuff that has happened in the previous stage of the race. Here's Noah Tuamela. Got a fantastic start, and we're about to watch it and follow how he went all the way into the lead of the race. Look at that start. Absolutely fantastic, all the way around the outside. Then almost made contact, did make a bit of contact with Luke Mitchell. Mitchell ran him slightly off the road. It was all okay. I think race control will decide that as just a turn 1 incident.
Yeah, it looked a bit dodgy live when we watched it at the time, but I think Tuamala was definitely on track, and like you say, Luke Mitchell was sort of tried to sort of ease him out there, and got a little bit of contact being made. Here's Justin Ryan, being hit in the back by Scott Morris, and Morris into the wall, using the front wing. So Justin, a bit of a innocent victim there, I think, just being hit in the back, unless he braked early or something like that, but I don't think he did. So a little bit clumsy from Morris, in my opinion. And Savinsky just losing it at turn 5. Just got on the power too early, didn't he, Tom? And the VMS, so all she wrote, ready in the wall and emerging behind Scott Morris.
And he did the same thing again, this time avoiding the wall. And well, definitely a problem corner for him, I think it's safe to say. What happens to Justin Van der Smissen, and that is a really odd twitch. It's almost like he's got his game turned up too much, has took his hands off the wheel slightly, and it's just spun around on him. I'm really not certain. Oh, that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, exactly. So this has not been a great couple of laps for VMS. Now we're going 2 almost 3 wide alongside, so lucky they were able to avoid him there with some good judgment. But, well, at least both of the VMS cars still in the race, and they could well recover, especially come race 2, as we see Vakinov in a battle with Mike Bell for 15th then. So Mike Bell, they're not qualifying particularly high, but Magnussen has lost his front wing, and that's why he's dropped down to 2nd place, Tom. So Patrick Magnussen, while we're watching those replays, has hit the wall, lost his front wing, and Tuamala has actually leapfrogged ahead of Luke Mitchell as well.
And I wonder if that's indicative of Luke Mitchell and Mikael Tuamala. Luke Mitchell and Magnussen tripping over each other. Now Magnussen's going to do something very silly and go around the outside as we go down into this corner. Oh, there's a car in the background, goes for a very aggressive dive bomb, and he gets it stopped, you know. That was Magnus Hockenhaug, gets through on the lot of them. I think just about okay. Dan Hayek is going to give Magnussen a little bit of a bump as they go now down into Sector 3. This is going to be turn 16 and 17, and Hockenhaug is Magnussen, I apologise, he's just losing spots after spots, and unsurprisingly jumps straight into the pits.
Yeah, that is a very crazy fight between Parker, Biskazan, Hasse, Patterson, Hockenhaug and Hadjek, and of course Terence Crack at the back of that train as well. So that is all fighting over 6th.
Well, that wasn't the incident. That was another incident where he goes wide. That is not where he lost his front wing. They were trying to cycle back to see where it happened. And here we go. Luke Mitchell just behind him. Applies the brakes. Goes around there. So he's still going okay. Luke Mitchell got the DRS. Is Luke Mitchell going to try and make a pass here? Is this what happened? I don't think Luke quite had the straight line speed to do that. Oh, he did. Went to the inside line and, well, there's only one person to blame there, and I'm afraid to say it's Patrick Magnussen.
Yeah, it was a late move there. Mitchell actually there. We saw him, because he got held up there, that was how Tuamala was able to find a way around the outside. And look at Magnussen near being pushed into the wall there by Ockenhaug. He made that very, very ambitious dive. It was opportunistic, and there is the contact from Hayek as well, who was basically, I think, a little bit annoyed with him there because he was hoping Magnussen would just get out of the way.
And that was what we saw with Magnussen coming back to the pit. So Luke Mitchell now got his work cut out to try and get ahead of Vakal Tuamala. Goes through into the section of the racetrack where there is apparently a new overtaking opportunity. Luke not able to find it just yet. Magnus Ockenhaug, well, he's under pressure. Dan Hayek goes down the inside. Dan not quite able to find the space. Ockenhaug trying to put pressure on Craig Patterson himself. Bilu 48.7 across the line, so he is fastest on the circuit at the moment, and now is starting to pressurise Luke Mitchell. Let's have a ride on board with this battle, because Maxime Bilu has a fantastic opportunity. He won't go down the inside on this occasion, but he is so much faster than Luke Mitchell. I wonder if there's a little bit of damage caused by that crash earlier on. That being said, Maxime Bilu maybe not with the greatest of straight line speed. I'll apply the throttle and he'll have the DRS to help him as well. So does Luke, though. Will Bilu go down the inside? He won't quite. He knows that his slender championship chances, and I mean slender, are on the line with this move effectively.
Oh, and there's Matthias Bizgazan fighting with Florian Hasse for 7th while this is going on. But it says on the halo there, they call me Bulu, Maxime Bulu. So just Maxime reminding us how to pronounce his name, I guess, which is helpful from a commentary perspective, but I don't see another driver coasting up behind. I guess it's not on the rear wing or anything, he's on the halo, so only really us and Maxime will see it while driving. But now Maxime is sort of, the other reason I think he needs to get the hurry up is because he's got Riboli not far behind him. He's doing the Alpha Sierra bread sandwich essentially with him in the middle, the filling. So that's why he needs to escape, because he doesn't really want to get squeezed in here, because if Luke Mitchell backs him into Riboli, he's going to have a lot of problems. And Mitchell himself hasn't given up on an Tuamala as they try and slipstream each other on the run into 16. And both of them staying in the same position as before then. So the Bulio, he's got a lot of pace, but nowhere to really use it at the present moment. It may come down to a mistake like we saw with Magnussen earlier, and Mitchell makes a mistake as I say that, and that's going to let Bulio alongside. He's got the inside then into turn 1, and Luke Mitchell's going to be knocked off the podium and now into the path of his teammate as Bulio just about keeps on track on exit.
And I would suspect Alpha Sierra will be quite nice here and not get Massimiliano Riboli past Luke Mitchell. We do know that the championship is going to have to wait until the next race. The next race, by that I mean race 2 this evening, with just about 7 laps to go in this one. Mitchell's got the slipstream though and has the DRS. And with Bilu not having DRS on the car ahead, he'll go down the inside. There'll be a little bit of contact between the two of them. Now Mitchell to the outside line, swoops all the way around the outside. Not a lot of space on driver's left. He still stays to the inside line. Bilu's going to hold on to the position, but it's a fantastic piece of racing between the two of them. And Mitchell has a run once again, as does the RNG car of Tom Parker in the background. Has a run on just about everyone. They all Constantine are up, can't pass through this section of the racetrack. And Maxime Bilu survives for the time being, but Luke Mitchell is looking very, very awkward. And I think his car isn't looking particularly pacey.
Yeah, maybe that contact with Magnussen damaged it more than we thought, as we see Joshua Dexter getting a penalty, I would assume, for track limits or speeding in the pit lane. And the upshot of all this, as we see Tom Parker getting very keen to attack the back of Massimiliano Riboli, is that Bizgazan is being towed into this battle as well. So if Luke Mitchell can't break away here, then he could find the reading game joining the party before too long.
The potential for a very interesting battle there throughout the rest of this race, as we'll have 6 laps to go, or 7 laps to go actually, at the line. There we go, and we start lap 10 of the race of 16. And Luke Mitchell having to defend a little bit from his teammates. As I said, they'll be in a voice call together, I'm almost certain. I'm pretty sure as well Luke Mitchell won't exactly be keen on Massimiliano Riboli trying to get through on him. And I think they'll just be trying to do this two-pronged attack ahead of Maxime Bilou. Logic would dictate maybe they think about doing a swap and letting Riboli have a chance at getting to that podium with Luke Mitchell's pace right now, and with a DRS. I don't think that's going to happen. Parker in the background is going for a move on Riboli. Mitchell's going for a move on Bilou. Parker or Mitchell can't get past their respective targets there.
Yeah, that was a case of Riboli breaking a bit late around the outside and being able to just hold on from the King's car. But Tom Parker is looking very, very fired up right now, because I think he knows Xan is not far behind in catching all of them here. So he knows he's got a lot more pace at the present moment. He needs to find a way to get into clear and not hit the back as well, as he nearly did there, it looked like, of Riboli.
Well, the good news here for these guys is that Luke Mitchell and Maxime Bilou were pulling away ever so slightly, taking away the DRS of Riboli, which might just start to play into the hands of Park. A couple of laps until the DRS is totally gone from them yet, though, so we'll wait and see. Mitchell is in the slipstream, not quite got the DRS down this part of the racetrack, though, and as they go through 16-17, going to have to wait another lap to try and make this move ahead of Maxime Bilou. Here we go through the final corner then. Time in this race. And Luke Mitchell is just a couple of tenths of a second behind. Riboli 8 tenths of a second back. He's in danger of losing DRS.
He is, yes. So this is the opportunity that presented itself earlier is starting to fade unless Julio's pace starts to fade. But up front, by the way, we haven't talked too much about the leaders. They've been lapping consistently a second and a half quicker than all of these guys. Tuomela, 1.7, I think, ahead of Mikael Tuomala. So Tuomala set a 1:48.5, whereas Tuomela set a 1:49. And here comes Luke Mitchell up the inside again, just showing his nose from Julio through turn 7, sorry.
Now here is Hayek going all the way around the outside, not able to find the spot though ahead of Magnus Ockenhaug. This is for 9th position. But, Ockenhaug is really causing a bit of a trolley train here. All the cars behind him struggling to find their way past. Although apparently I'm hearing that, I take that back, he's only just overtook Dan Hayek. So we'll see if Hayek is able to get back past. They are certainly very close together. We have got a DNF in this race. It's Scott Morris has decided to come into the pits and call it a day. Tuomela still has the lead. And actually, I don't think I've put too much emphasis on that. 16.4 seconds in. Noah Tuomela.
Oh, it's bigger than I thought it was, actually. Yeah, I saw that and I thought it was lying, but on screen we're only seeing the position graphic, so I looked at race view, assumed it was lying, and said the previous gap. But yeah, 16.4 is what I'm seeing as well, so video is only about 4 seconds behind.
So I don't know what's happened there. Race view is lying to us, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. So don't trust race view.
Speaking of Ockenhaug, I think we did see the move, didn't we, on screen, where he dived up the inside at, I think, turn 14, wasn't it? He made that crazy dive when Magnussen was trying to make his way back to the pit lane. Magnussen still going down in 26th, about 7 tenths behind 25th placed Brandon Roberts, sorry.
And, well, as we open up the throttle once again, Dan Hayek is going to try and attack Magnus Ockenhaug, but again, it's not quite going to come to fruition at this stage. Tom Parker is looking very racy indeed ahead of Massimiliano Riboli, and is going to get ahead of Massimiliano Riboli on the brakes. He goes. Riboli tries to stick it around the outside. Parker just gets to the apex first and then gets fully ahead as they go through the right-hander. So there you go. Tom Parker is through and into the top 5 positions. Luke Mitchell still 3 tenths of a second behind Maxime Bilou. He'll really be wanting to make that move if it's all possible. Maxime Bilou right now taking the opportunity to go within 2 points of Roy Seifert's spots would still mean that Luke Mitchell, I believe, should possibly wrap up the championship in the next race. We'll wait and see about that. I think it would be the same scenario as this one, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm not too sure. We'll see if he's able to get past. I think it will certainly help him getting past here. I'll do the maths in the warm-up for you, unless someone has already done it in chat. This is Luke.
Hadjek has got by Ockenhaug for 9th, which is crucial for a reading game.
Yes, it is, up into 9th spots. And where are reading game in the championship? I think just outside of the top 10 they are. They're in 11th position. Hutt's Performance occupy that 10th spot. It's a battle for 10th in the standings. 158 points. Hutt's at 147 reading game. Hutt have had a couple of decent rounds, so I mean that's going to be an interesting battle. Battle for top 3 as well is getting interesting between Kings Racing and Scuderia Cap Play. Seems pretty dealt with at the top of the order, though. I'm sure I won't be mistaken in saying that is a car off. That is Dan Hayek. 9th position. He'll hold on to 9th position, but he's going to be under more pressure.
Oh, yeah. You saw Ockenhaug had a little think about going up the inside there, and Dan Hadjek defending, and this is going to allow Craig Patterson to get involved, trying to go around the outside then as they come into the dreaded turn 7, and Hadjek is surrounded on both sides here. Up the inside goes Magnus Ockenhaug, and again they're going to go through wide because here comes Terence Gregg trying to get himself in as they go through turn 8, and Hadjek has to have his wits about him, holding the inside through turn 8 and now into turn 9, and 9th place remains his, but Gregg has gotten through past Patterson and past Luca Filin in the KK car.
Just 3 laps to go as we get to the line. This battle for 9th position is hotting up. Battle for the podium positions not quite hotting up because Luke Mitchell has fallen outside of DRS of Maxime Bilou. It is now slowly falling into the clutches of Tom Parker behind, and Jope says Hayek went into the wall. I didn't quite see that myself, but certainly Dan Hayek will be wanting to keep it out of the barriers as we head into the last 3 laps or so of this contest. I want to take a look at the lap times that the cars are doing. 1:49.0 for Noah Tuamela. He should have the measure here of Michael Tuamala. Luke Mitchell goes purple in the 3rd sector. He's got himself as well back into DRS range, and as I say, talk about that lap times, my driver goes fastest. Matthews Pishkan 1:48.1. This is a battle as down the inside goes Terence Gregg off Magnus Ockenhaug as they go down into turn 1. Has to look to the outside line, and I'm not a fan of that moving under braking, I have to say, for Magnus Ockenhaug. I think he definitely moved very late there.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that can so easily go wrong, as we saw for Scott Morris, and I think it was Justin Royan right near the beginning of the race, which ended with Morris facing into the wall, missing his front wing. So, yeah, Ockenhaug, maybe after losing that position to Hayek, is starting to get a little bit antsy here with Terence Gregg gaining ground at him, getting the inside line into turn 7, and then having to back out once more. So the Deltec on the move. We have seen Gregg win at Spa earlier this season, of course, so he would dearly love back into the top 10 after a disappointing couple of rounds at Monza where things didn't quite go his way. But as you say, Tuamela is only 2 laps away from, I think, his 2nd win of the season.
It was the move for Jorn Dix that I think may have got him into a spot of bother, and it did get him into a spot of bother. He went straight into the wall. That's him out of the race. And well, Jorn had such a promising start to this season, but not quite able to continue from there, and well, he's out of this race. That's for certain. He joins in the non-finishing column, Joshua Dexter and Scott Morris. So it's a double DNF for Team R&G. We're back looking at Matthews Pishkan, who's caught up a little bit to Massi Ripoli, and now we'll try and pressurise him for that 6th position. I have to say, Matthews trying to solidify his good finish this season after that win in Monza. Now let's have a look at Luke Mitchell, because he's caught right back up Maxime Bilou, who must have had a couple of good laps, and in fact Luke Mitchell was fastest on that previous lap, igniting those tyres, and on the penultimate lap of the race will try and get himself back up into podium contention, and well, we'll then see what that does for the results next race by, which would potentially see Luke Mitchell taking home the championship. 6 points, I'm hearing. You'd have to score him, outscore him by, if it were to finish like this in that race too, but we'll wait and see if he gets ahead in this one, and well, he's certainly looking pretty decent to get ahead.
Exactly, and we're seeing Bizkazan moving around in the mirrors of Riboli behind as Ockenhaug repasses Dan Hayek for ninth position. And Tuamala, to his credit, he set a personal best lap as well in his pursuit of Tuamela. He hasn't given up just yet. 140.3. 148.3, sorry. That was about 3 tenths faster, not 8 seconds faster, as I mistakenly just said there. But also look at Tuamala. I think he's made a mistake on this lap because he's starting to be closed in by Bulio and Mitchell. And let's not forget Tom Parker. He set a lap time almost identical to the one that Luke Mitchell just did, only a few thousandths of a second slower, basically. So Luke Mitchell looking very, very menacing here, and Bulio is going to have to really get his elbows out if he wants to hold on to that podium.
And well, with just the one lap and less than a half to go now, Luke Mitchell is going to feel very, very good about these prospects of taking home that podium spot and making it so much easier for him to wrap up the championship in Singapore. Here they go out of that final corner. Luke Mitchell puts the throttle down, gets the DRS open as well, and as they go through into turn 1, he's just not quite able to find a way ahead. It's only 4 tenths, by the way, between Rapoli and Pishkam. We'll stay on board with this battle, though, because it is absolutely... well, they're right on each other's tail, aren't they? And, well, as they go now through what I believe is turn 3 and turn 4. Now Mitchell has the slipstream, has the DRS as well. This is his opportunity to try and get himself onto the podium here in Singapore. He's going to go to the inside line. He's going to take a bit of a dive. Bilu totally cuts him off, and Mitchell has to take evading action. And I have to say, I think Bilu just totally turned into Luke there.
Bilu was very resolute, staying on the racing line there, and Luke Mitchell sort of out of the way and avoided contact. But this has allowed Tom Parker to really close in here. So Luke Mitchell in an unenviable position. He's got to defend that 4th place, but also keep the pressure up on Bulio, because you can never know what might happen in the last couple of kilometers of this race then. But Tuamela up front, looking to secure win number 2 of the season. And after KV86 Powerhouse won with Magnussen in Monza, this would be a great follow-up, winning 2 race ones in a row for that squad.
So 2.7 seconds is the gap at the top of the standings. That is the gap that should see Noah Tuamela take victory here in Singapore, and he's going through the final few corners now. Hasn't been on the top step so often in this season so far as Noah Tuamela, but KV86 Powerhouse return to the top step. It's consecutive race 1 victories for that team, and Noah Tuamela takes himself back to the top step in the GPVWC. It's going to be Tuamala and Maxime Bilu making up the rest of the podium. And oh, dearie me, Luca Thylin is into the wall. He's had a very dramatic last lap, and someone joined him in the accident. Terence Grech, and he needs to be careful here, does Thylin.
You don't really want to be doing 360 spins before the race ends. After, maybe, as we see Luca Thylin again, that rear wing, he's trying to carry too much speed. The rear downforce is all gone, so he's going to cross the line backwards, which is a comical way for the Kaizen Kota racing driver to end the race down in 17th position, because I think that looks like Gillette just got in there as well, but he does finish ahead of Luca Gray's teammate. Wow, Tuamela, I have to say, that race, what really opened things up for him was that start around the outside. It reminded me a lot of Fernando Alonso. Is very, very good at it here at Singapore. If you look at 2017, he tried to go around the outside of everyone in the wet, and then unfortunately had I think 2 Ferraris and a Red Bull just spear into him on that occasion. But if you can get around the outside and avoid the chaos, then that's exactly the kind of thing you can do. You can just control the race from out front. And Luke Mitchell, in the end, off the podium, and Bulio keeps his very, very slim hopes alive. I think you're right. It's either 6 to 8 points that Mitchell will now need to gain on him in race 2 to sew up the title.
So we're going to go to a replay first, and then we'll go to your race results, and from there, that was Luca Thylin. Just went onto the curb and spat that car back out across the circuit, and that was Luca Thylin effectively out. And we got Terence Grech involved as well, didn't he? So a little bit awkward towards the
dive
end
on Terence,
of that one.
he?
Here is Terence. He went down. Oh yeah, Terence had the dive, and then. Well, Thylin just seemed to lose the car. There's another car involved as well, I think.
It's Vakinov that just hit them in the green entry.
Oh dear. All very messy. It's the very end of this race. A lot of these drivers having to tread carefully as well, because I think the most points given out of the last race were actually instant points in the end. Let's take a look then at your final results. And well, here we go. No, Tuamela wins from Michael Tuamala. Maxime Bilou finishes in third. Luke Mitchell finishes fourth, meaning he'll need to outscore Maxime by 6 points in the next race in order to win at the championship. Then it is Tom Parker in fifth, Massimiliano Riboli. Then it's Mathieu Spichkan, Florian Hassett, Dan Hayek and Magnus Ockenhaug rounding out your top 10. Bobby Buckenough, Mike Bell, Craig Patterson, Matthew Sokolowski and Terence Grech, the top 15, with Joe Gillett, Luca Thylin, Luca Gray, Johannes Leppitz and Tommy Kuvian, your top 20. Then it is going to be Patrick Magnusson finishing in 21st position after losing his front wing, Nick Kuiper, Justin Ruin, Brandon Roberts and Domenico Scarpelli in 25th. Last two finishers are the VMS Solidators cars, Justin van der Smissen and Philip Cervensky. Your Dix, Joshua Dexter and Scott Morris round out the rest of the grid. A reminder, because I know we've been asked it in chats from Panu Tuamela, does the reverse grid go for second race? There is a reverse grid from a random position from all the way from 15th to 10th. We, however, will be back in about 5 minutes' time for race 2 here in FS2. Welcome back to the GPVWC Formula Sprint 2 from the Marina Bay circuit in Singapore. I'm Tom Dillon, and alongside me for the second race this evening is Edward Hunter and Ed. Luke Mitchell, just the 6 points more than whatever Maxime Bilou scores in order to win the championship this evening.
Yep, so basically the difference between first and fourth or equivalent to that sort of going on. So bare minimum, Luke Mitchell needs to finish 10th, get the 6 points with Maxime Bilou not scoring anything. But they are, of course, they finish right together in race 1, so they're going to start together with Luke Mitchell ahead in race 2, of course. The grid being set, I didn't quite see who got the reverse grid draw, but I'm sure Vincent has been keeping track of that and will remind us at some point. Ooh.
There are your live standings, though I don't believe they're. Although they are exactly correct. There you go. Isn't that isn't that fantastic? So there we go. You can see Maxime Bilou just 1 point behind Roy Seifert. So 10 points needed without Maxime scoring for Luke to go on and get himself to that magical number of 141 point gap. Yeah, there you go. That would win him the championship tonight. So we can take a look at your grid ahead of this race. And it is Mike Bell who starts on pole position, Bobby fucking up alongside him, Magnus Ockenhaug and Dan Hayek the rest of row 2. It's Florian Hasse and Mathieu Pishkan on row 3, Massi Raboli and Tom Parker on row 4. And it's Luke Mitchell and Maxime Bilou, Michael Tomala and Noah Tuamela on row 6. Craig Patterson, Mateusz Sokolowski 13th and 14th, with Terence Gregg down in 15th. Joe Gillett, who I have to say did not race for me in ERC. In fact, it was many R-Factor 1 leagues many moons ago. He starts in 16th, Luca Thylin, Luca Gray on row 9, with Johannes Leppitz and Tomek Kuvian on row 10. It's Patrick Magnussen and Nick Kuiper in 21st and 22nd, Justin Ruin and Brandon Roberts in 23rd and 24th. Then it is Domenico Scarpelli and Justin van der Smissen in 25th and 26th, with Philip Savinsky and Bjorn Dix 27th and 28th. The rest of the grid, Joshua Dexter and Scott Morris. Ed, Luke Mitchell has got his work cut out to try and win the championship in this race. However, I think most people will back him to do so.
Well, you certainly wouldn't bet against him gaining ground from 9th on the grid, would you, Tom? Up front, though, it's a front row of Bell and Vakinov. It feels like I've come back to commentate on Academy Race 2 rather than FS2 Race 2, because it was usually those were two of the drivers you'd usually see running up front, and we're so used to the Mike Bell train where he would just defend from those behind. Of course, in jumping in at quite late notice in that King's car, but doing a pretty solid job, of course, with that top 12, top 13 finish in race 1. So he'll be hoping to just about hold on to maybe a podium or a top 4, top 5. I think at the end of this would be a good return for Mike Bell, but he's got some very, very quick guys behind him, not least, of course, Luke Mitchell, and of course your two reading games of Matthias Bizgazan and Dan Herrick, who I think are definitely going to be a big threat here. And let's not forget about this man. We're looking at Terence Gregg, who starts having spun at the end of been hit by another driver at the end of the first race, Luca Gray. We'll be looking to, I think, gain a lot of ground here.
So we're ready to go to the grid. Try and find out who's going to win in the race 2 here at Singapore under the lights at the Marina Bay Street circuits. We're having a discussion in the green room. I believe this is only a layout that will be used in 2023. So enjoy it while it lasts. We've got the lights. And it's lights out and away we go there. Held on the grid for a reasonably long time, but it's a good start from poles. Here's Mike Bell, who holds the lead as they go down into turn 1. I think Mathieu Pishkan has lost his rear wing in the background. Car off as we go through turn 1 and into turn 2. As Magnus Ockenhauger went off ever so slightly. Bobby Wackenhofer slots into third rather nicely. Dan Hayek just in the background seeing what positions he can make up straight away. However, I am sure that was Mateusz Piszkan who lost a wing off of the start. Lost his rear wing, no less, of the start. We're waiting to see. I'm hearing he actually might have stalled on the grid. So let's wait and see now. Bobby Wackenhofer going to the outside line here of Magnus Ockenhauger as they go down into this corner. And oh, down the inside goes Dan Hayek, trying to get through, makes contact. Almost runs off the racetrack, will lose a couple of positions. Luke Mitchell trying to get through. He's been jumped by Michael Tuomala of the start. No, he hasn't. I apologise. That is rather dramatic. That's a reading game car, and that is a 6-car pileup.
Oh dear. Oh, and it's still happening there. That's Luca Gray, I think, involved in that one too. Bo won the optimal cars as well. So let's have a look. Luke Mitchell has survived this and gotten up to 5th position, but Maxime Beaulieu has not. He's fallen behind Tuomala in 13th then. So if it ends like this, then Luke Mitchell will be the 2023 FS2 champion, as Mike Bell now really under pressure from Ockenhauger in the battle for the lead.
Mike Bell is debut to the series this season, if I am not mistaken. I don't see him on our championship standings, barring, of course, tonight. So pretty decent start for him. Let's see, though, if he's under any more pressure. Magnus Ockenhauger looks for the outside line. Won't be able to find it at 16-17. We'll try to switch back here and make it, perhaps, as we go through 18 and 19. Not the easiest place to make a move, and indeed, I think he's going to be sensible about it. However, gets a fantastic run out of that final corner. No DRS just yet in this race. They're going to have to wait another lap for that to be enabled. Will he go to the inside, though? Magnus Ockenhauger is not the heaviest of braking zones, and he certainly thinks a little bit better of it.
Yeah, and of course he's got Vachanov for company here, so he can't afford to just get too comfy and wait for Mike Bell to make a mistake, because usually he doesn't make one. But the other thing, of course, Luke Mitchell has been released. I think he's now ahead of... no, he's got Massi Riboli ahead of him, sorry. So, of course, no need for team orders at the present moment with Julio. I think not suffering too serious damage, but he did get going again down 13th. So he's now 7 seconds down on the lead, whereas Luke Mitchell is only about 2 seconds behind him. Yeah, Ockenhauger, this is very, very crucial now, because if he gets stuck behind Mike Bell for too long, Bell will get very, very comfortable and start predicting where he's going to make the move. So he needs to surprise him while it's still early in the race, because I think if he leaves it too late, that could allow Vachanov and Mitchell and even Riboli to get involved here. Is there a little mistake actually from Ockenhauger as he just goes into the Esplanade Bridge, and that's allowing Vachanov to really get involved here in the green and black. What's that team called again? I think it's the Freccianera, of course.
And, well, this top 3 battle is starting to get very interesting indeed, as Magnus Ockenhauger now looks to the outside line as we go through into Sector 2. He's going to draw alongside as well. He might just squeeze through. Is there going to be an attack behind from Bobby Wackenhofer? Down the inside he goes into 16. Magnus Ockenhauger, but he's not quite able to find a way through. There's contact between himself and the King's racing car. Now he switches back to the outside line, or to the inside line, I should say. However, it's still held on by Mike Bell, this position. Ockenhauger gets a fantastic run out to that final corner. Luke Mitchell is just behind alongside Massimiliano Riboli. They're all trying to get involved in this battle. As it happens, Ockenhauger is going to try and swoop around the outside, not given the room by Mike Bell, and Mike Bell holds on to the position. It was all very optimistic, all very speculative at least from Magnus Ockenhauger. Now finds himself under pressure from Bobby Wackenhofer behind.
Yeah, and the person this is actually really helping is Tom Parker. Right at the back of this is just set fastest lap 149.2. Mike Bell set a 150.8 then, and now here comes Ockenhauger to the outside at turn 7, and again the King's car defends. Mike Bell is not going to be overcome here, but Vachanov is. Vachanov goes wide, and through goes Riboli and Luke Mitchell as well.
So Mike Bell holding on at the moment. Luke Mitchell getting past Bobby Wackenhofer. That's him up into 4th position and in position for the championship. Maxime Beaulieu down in 13th position. That would be plenty of points for Luke Mitchell in this race. And, well, I say plenty. He would have absolutely done it. You score for 4th position, 13 points, all the way down in 13th for Maxime Beaulieu. You score 3. So there's absolutely plenty for Luke Mitchell by most accounts. Magnus Ockenhauger, though, still trying to get himself into the lead of this race, and has got the help of DRS on this occasion. To the outside line he goes. Not quite able to find a way through. However, And I think that would be a slight little bit of frustration for him. He really needs to lead this race before those Alfa Sierra cars start to catch up behind. Will he go to the outside line on this occasion? He won't. This is very, very difficult for him.
Massimiliano Riboli, by the way, has yet to win this season, unlike his teammate Luke Mitchell, who has won 6 times at least, in terms of, especially in race 1s, but also I think once or twice in race 2 as well. So no swaps yet from Alfa Sierra, so they're not feeling it. They're letting them race at the moment, which is going to be interesting if Riboli can clear one or both of Hockenhaug and Bell, because they might let Riboli keep this win if Bugio can't make any progress from 13th and get himself into a title-threatening position. But I think he would need to be within about 4 places to keep the points battle alive. But Mike Bell driving incredibly well here. You can see him trying to give a toe to the person in 3rd, whoever it is, to try and keep Hockenhaug at bay. But Hockenhaug tries to sell a dummy, gets the inside for turn 7, and Mike Bell simply goes around the outside. And now Riboli is going to try and get involved here. But Hockenhaug somehow gets out on top there.
So there we go, that is the lead of the race for Magnus Hockenhaug. Mike Bell now under a lot more pressure from Massi Riboli, who is due a fantastic finish in soon enough. Luke Mitchell is trying to get involved in the background as well, but it's Mike Bell who holds on to that position for the time being. Now it's crucial for Magnus Hockenhaug to just try and accelerate away and fend off those guys behind. We'll see if Riboli is able to get around the outside. Mike Bell is going to have a twitch on the exit of that corner that will allow Riboli to use the DRS down this straight to try and get through. However, with Mike Bell having the DRS on Hockenhaug himself, he's going to be in prime position to hold on for the time being. Very, very awkward looking in that car. Will allow Maximiliano Riboli a chance to go down the inside into turn 16 and 17. He's on the inside line. Mike Bell can't do much to hold on to it. Riboli brakes as late as he can and squeezes through. That was last of the late breakers stuff, and he gets himself up into 3rd position. 2nd position, rather.
Mike Bell really struggling for traction here. Now those are crucial moves for both Hockenhaug and Riboli. Riboli can now chase down Magnus Hockenhaug in the Hut Performance car before he gets too far up the road. So Hut Performance, after being outscored by Game Race 1, desperately need every point they can get here. So I wonder how hard Riboli is going to fight Hockenhaug when he catches him. Next up, of course, Luke Mitchell and Fakinov are going to try and challenge Mike Bell for 3rd as well. And it'll be interesting to see how risky Luke Mitchell gets with the championship on the line, or whether he'll let Mike Bell hold on to that 3rd place.
And, well, it's only Luke Mitchell behind him in the case of Mike Bell. So, you know, I'm sure he'll hold on to it. Luke gunning for that championship, and every position he makes is obviously a position ahead of Bilu and a position further on into a victory in the championship, or go to the inside line. Well, Mitchell, no, he won't quite. It's going to allow Bobby Vukanov to hold on for the time being. And, well, Mitchell now actually is looking to attack, isn't he, Mike Bell? So 2nd and 3rd would be a fantastic result for Alfa Sierra. I'm sure that Alfa Sierra would probably like to try and get ahead of Magnus Hockenhaug as well and get themselves a 1-2 finish. But right now, it's Luke Mitchell who's got to pressurise Mike Bell.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, Bell and Mitchell are actually teammates in the ELC British Touring Car, my Underbird simulation team, where Luke Mitchell won 2 of the races at Snetterton and Mike Bell won the other. So it was a very, very good week last week for them. And of course, Luke Mitchell is usually driving here in GPV for various different teams. So that's usually his main commitment. So literally because the week got changed, he was able to drive with us. But now Luke Mitchell gets a very good run onto the start-finish straight with 10 laps to go. And Mike Bell is going to have to continue to just defend the inside, just not leave any gap for the Alfa Sierra, the championship leader, to take advantage of. As we're seeing, is that the 2 Academy cars congregating again. That looks like Sokolowski and Gillette fighting over 10th with Craig Patterson and Terence Gregg ahead of them.
The gap as it stands would be 145 points, which is more than enough for Luke Mitchell, just confirming with my calculator on that front. Here is Joe Gillett under a lot of pressure and in fact able to do a pretty decent job in defence. Holds on to 11th position on GPVWC debut in this race too. We have got a replay of something that has happened on this racetrack, and I believe it involves my driver, Mathieu's Pishkin. I wonder if it doesn't involve Sean Dix. Oh, there we go. We're going to see what happened at the start to Mathieu's auto stall or auto clutch failure, and then Tommy Cuvian came down the inside like a tracer bullet, sent someone round, and then it all just ended a little bit messy.
Facing the wrong way, yeah.
Didn't help that Mathieu's had no rear wing and had no real control of the car at that point. I believe strictly the regulations would like you at that point to stop the car, but you know, maybe we're being pedantic. So here's a replay of the start then. This is what happened to Mathieu's, and we'll see just how he didn't get away. So he was in a pretty decent grid slot just behind
Tom Parker immediately behind him as well. So
I think it is as well. Not a lot of time to react off of the start. 5 red lights. It seemed to be away we go, of course. And there you go.
Something's happened.
Just didn't start.
Tom Parker did hit him.
Yes, but it was actually the car just behind him that did the brunt of the damage. You can see that rear wing barreling down the straight.
Yeah, so things have been happening while we've been away. I think Vakinov has hit trouble, dropping to 8th, Tom. So that is good news for Luke Mitchell, who he was about to be overtaken by Vakinov. So something has happened while we were watching this.
Tommy Cuvian again down the inside like a tracer bullet, and just took someone out. But there you go. FS2
For Tommy, he isn't a tracer bullet. He's a very big car, isn't he? Oh! And this is everyone trying to avoid each other and just causing several other incidents at turn 9.
No, the tracer bullet arguably would do a little bit more damage to him. There you go. There's the car around. That was.
There's Bulio. Bulio's the one spun in the middle there.
Yeah, so Dan Hayek, wasn't it? He went around.
Oh.
Dear me, mate. It just all absolute carnage. Not unlike Monza. Thankfully, this time we had significantly less people diving in like idiots. Even though there were yellow flags. Dan got squeezed all the way into the wall, didn't he? And had nowhere else to go, and there were just cars again trying to avoid him, and actually they did a rather good job of doing that. However, there we be.
It's one of the red vans as well, and there is Mateus coming around with no rear wing as well, so if anything he actually had a bit more extra turning, surprisingly there, which he used to avoid his teammate. Tommy. Oh dear.
Well, there you go then. A little bit of drama at the start of this FS2 race. I think we've got more here. Oh, a wall on the inside from Mateusz Sokolowski, and almost a wall as well on the outside, but he gets away with it.
Sokolowski somehow still running in 17th despite this, which looks like it took a year and a day to get out of that one.
And oh, okay, here we go. So I can tell you what happened to Mateusz Pishkan. He didn't realise that when you have auto clutch off, you have to manually start the engine. So effectively, didn't start the engine, and that showed the car obviously not taking off particularly well. He was unable to start the engine. So there you go. We've got quite a few DNFs from this race as well. 4 tenths of a second only at the lead of the Prix. Obviously, Mike Bell getting past Luke Mitchell, as we mentioned. Luke Mitchell staying behind Mike Bell, I should say, rather. So, DNFs as they run it. Mark Mahler, Philip Savinsky, Tommy Cuvier, Mateusz Pishkan, and Brandon Robert. Brandon not officially a DNF from this race, but there we go. Sorry, engine was on, then it turned off, and anyway, that was that. But this is the battle for the lead.
Bulio's got up to 10th, by the way, so he's starting to creep into towards Luke Mitchell slowly but surely, as Mitchell is stuck behind Mike Bell. But now Riboli is really looking to challenge Ockenhaug as well. So the top 4 are still in the battle for the win here. Let's not rule out Luca Filin either, who's keeping them very much in touch here. But Bulio's got Gillette to negotiate next before he can get into the top 9. Where does Bulio need to finish at the moment to be within 6 points or so of Mitchell? If Mitchell stays 4th, I think he would need to be 8th, wouldn't he? Something like that.
Yes, I'll do the math next time I hand over to you to start talking, but we have got a battle for the lead of the race, and alongside is Massi Rapoli. He'll go all the way around the outside, and with the help of DRS, gets himself into the lead of the race. As I said, not been a fantastic season. Rapoli so far hasn't registered a race win all season long. Down in 5th in the championship, but maybe now, finally, it'll be a return to form for the Italian. Mike Bell trying to follow him through, not quite able to do so as we go through into Sector 3. That's a right old shake-up for these podium positions. Keeping an eye on Luca Thailand behind. He seems to have come out from nowhere. Jack Nichols says, amazing what happens when Kings Racing have some good drivers. Well, there you go. 3rd and 6th. And I have to say, Tom Parker, I'm surprised he hasn't got a full-time seat. And I can tell you he probably would have had a full-time seat if we weren't full. We were talking to him about it. But there you go. I'm amazed he hasn't got a full-time seat.
He has shown time and time again what a quality driver he is, but I think because the availability in FS2 has been a bit all over the map. Even Mitchell missed a couple of rounds, didn't he? Like at Silverstone, for instance, and Spa too. So it really shows that even people that are very front of the championship, even Roy Seifert is a sort of, I think he's just unavailable on Tuesdays, so he's having to miss a lot of rounds at the moment, which is why the championship has sort of had that air of inevitability about it, hasn't it? But anyway, back to this race. It's a great chance not only for Rapoli to win, but also we saw Ockenhaug on that previous lap making a big mistake, and he could potentially back both Ockenhaug and Bell into Luke Mitchell here.
And as it stands, Luke Mitchell would need one more spot to take himself into the lead of the championship. He needs, to win the championship. He needs that spot to win the championship tonight, I believe, as the gap would be 139 points and 47 on offer at each round. You need 41 points in order to win the championship. So there you go. Luke Mitchell requiring a little bit of, not a miracle, but a little bit of a move here if he's going to want to take home the championship this evening. He can be safe to say, I think that Maxime Bilou is going to stay in 8th position for the time being. However, Luke Mitchell not exactly finding the most fantastic pace. Perhaps Singapore just isn't one of his favourite tracks. We have got a battle for the lead though. Rapoli is under pressure. Then he's under pressure from Magnus Ockenhaug. It goes back around the outside here as we go through into a switchback move for Magnus Ockenhaug. He'll try and hold the lead of the race here. Around the outside he goes. He takes the lead efficiently. Now has to do it on the brakes as well as we go down into turn 16 and turn 17. Ockenhaug on the inside. Rapoli with a slight lead by 0.02 of a second. Ockenhaug gets to the inside, gets ahead as well. That causes a Constantina that now gives Luke Mitchell the opportunity to take himself into position to just win the championship at this round. However, Luke is under a bit of increasing pressure from a driver behind him. He's under pressure from Luca Thailand. Luca just about cut out. Mike Bell now trying to attack Massi Rapoli, who finds himself down in 2nd position. So as it stands, Luke Mitchell not quite the champion. He requires Maxime Bilou to fall back another spot, I believe.
What's the other thing that Alpha Sierra could do if they want to clinch the Drivers' Championship today? They could ask Rapoli, if Mike Bell especially gets back through, to just let Luke Mitchell pass, but I'm sure he wouldn't be particularly delighted, especially when the win is right there with Ockenhaug. I think maybe Rapoli just couldn't pull away on that previous lap, and that was what let Magnus get close enough to make that move into 16 on the inside. So yeah, you can just easily, with it seems these FS2 cars very good at slipstreaming through that new section of track then.
Yes, maybe good omens to come from that ahead of the Formula 1 Grand Prix that's held here, I think this weekend, either this weekend or next weekend. Again, it just totally escapes me, the F1 calendar nowadays. But this battle for the lead is starting to get interesting with just the 5 laps to go as we get to the line. Rapoli will have the DRS once again down into 16 and 17, and really he needs to do his teammates a favour here, draw out a second to Mike Bell. Then his teammate can get himself up into position to win the championship at this race, keeping that one eye on Maxime Bilou, who still in 8th position. Joe Gillett, he has had a spin. He falls down into 12th position, but as we go on to lap 12, Rapoli is right on the tail.
And look at Petrica Magnussen, ninth just behind Boulier. He's actually climbed from spinning on the first lap to get up into the 9th place in the top 10. But Ockenhau getting very defensive into turn 1 then, as he continues to be pressurized by Massimiliano Riboli. And again, if these two fight, it puts Mike Bell and Luke Mitchell back into play here. So especially Ockenhau, he will not want to find Mike Bell slipstream past the pair of them.
DRS is enabled down this zone. That gives Riboli a chance. Mike Bell has so much straight line speed to the point that now he looks to go in front of Riboli, who himself is trying to attack Ockenhau still. Now, Luke Mitchell, here's a twist for you, is finding himself under more pressure, so his championship crowning may have to be delayed another 2 weeks before we go over to Japan at the next round. Massimiliano Riboli still in second position, 0.3 of a second is the gap. Luke Mitchell now looks to the inside of Mike Bell. He's not able to find his way through. It is the almightiest of DRS trains here in Singapore, and Luke Mitchell catching up through sector 2 all the way to Mike Bell, to the point that he is well within dive bomb range. If it was to come to it, Riboli is in the slipstream in the DRS of Magnus Ockenhaugen. Now will have a chance to try and find his way through once again for the lead of the race. We'll go to the inside into 16-17, but just about not able to make the move. I apologise, not 16-17. This part of the circuit is 14. You're right, Ed. And then this is the next overtaking opportunity. Mitchell in the background. Well, he has found a great deal of pace and will look to the inside of Mike Bell. Not able to find the inside of Mike Bell and has to stay as it is.
Yeah, Mike Bell proving himself, as we expected, to be a tough nut to crack. Only Riboli and Ockenhaugen have been able to clear him so far, but Riboli is certainly pushing hard to try and take that lead back from Ockenhaugen. I don't think Ockenhaugen has won yet this season either, so this is a big battle for these two in terms of personal stakes, isn't it, Tom?
Well, it absolutely is. Lots of personal stakes on here for Massi Riboli, who again I think would have been wanting to challenge for that championship this year, hasn't been able to challenge for that championship. And again, just to get a win on the board would be able to mark this as at least a little bit of a successful season. I know they've won the Constructors' Championship, or the Team Championship as they like me to say, but just add that little bit extra to him. He goes around the outside here as we go through into the final few corners of this track. Riboli now to the outside line once again. However, still, he's not able to find his way through. Now it's going to be 3 wide for the lead of the race as Mike Bell is trying to get involved as well. Riboli goes through. Mike Bell tries to get through on Ockenhaugen. They're going to spin, and they're going to spin right in front of Luke Mitchell. That is so dramatic. Kings Racing cars all over each other. They're going to spin out, and it's going to be Luke Mitchell through into second position after it all. Bobby Vuckenhoff ahead of Ockenhaugen. Tom Parker and Mike Bell tripping over each other in an almighty sort of way.
And crucially, Boulier gets through into 6th as well, so I'm not sure exactly what that does for the championship. Alpha Sierra now in a position where they've got to decide, will they let Riboli win or will they let Luke Mitchell wrap things up several races early? But that really started with Ockenhaugen just going too wide into turn 9, hitting the wall. Riboli went through, and then Mike Bell tried to go around the outside. Neither yielded, and it all ended in tears with Tom Parker just sort of coming on the scene exactly the wrong moment to find Mike Bell sideways across the track.
Mitchell needs 1 point. Mitchell would need 1 point in order to win the championship here. Here's what happened, is I think it was actually more of a sim glitch than anything. And
was that Phylin who lost his rear wing there as well?
Yes, I think it might have been Simon's comment in chat. I've seen that. I can't read that out on air, possibly. But well, there you go. Magnus Ockenhaugen got stuck on the car ahead of him. He's able to go through. He has now, however, got suspension damage. We can see that allowed Bobby Vuckenhoff to go down the inside, and all of that to sort itself out. Mitchell again, 1 point. So surely Massi has to do the team thing here and let him through. Surely.
Would think so, wouldn't you, Tom? Because they want to wrap that driver's title up as early as possible. Riboli will surely get other chances to win before the season ends, and this is Joe Gillette. This is why he dropped several places, because he didn't have a front wing. And I guess into turn 14, you do have to slow down quite a lot when you haven't got any front downforce. And he's ran. He's going to, he was losing it himself, and he hit the RNG driver. That must have been Scott Morris.
I take it back, Ed. I take it back, because Luke Mitchell has got the fastest lap of the race. So right now, he is champion.
Well, that's a very good point, actually. You're right. That fastest lap, 1:49.5, a tenth quicker than Riboli. And Doesn't Vakanov have a faster lap than that? Well, 1:39.3.
Uh,
40, I mean, overall fastest lap. Yeah, 48.3. So I was looking at last laps. As you look at Tuomala making an absolute meal of 16.17 and retiring from the race, sadly.
So, yes, as it stands, Luke Mitchell is going to be the champion, I am sure, with the fastest lap of the race, unless someone is going to do it, or unless he wants to do it on the circuit and get ahead of his teammate. Do you want to take the risk? Bilo's got up to fourth, so there you go, take it all back. Luke Mitchell now needs to win this race in order to have a chance at wrapping up the championship this time by. Bilu is on a fantastic drive. He knows it's all in vain. He knows we're going to go to Japan, and Luke is going to wrap it up literally straight away. However, he keeps himself in the hunt ever so slightly.
Exactly, yeah. The only way to do it would be to get the full 20 points for victory, because that would put him, that would give him a 7-point swing, and he needs 6. At the moment, he's not quite getting enough. He's beat 1 short, I think, or potentially a couple short. So Ruboli, he's getting quite closed in upon here. I think Luke Mitchell might even just try and make the move himself without team orders on the final lap. But this is very risky times for Alpha Sierra, isn't it? They're going to get a 1-2 either way, but which driver do they want to win, Tom?
Well, that is the question as we go into what will be the final lap of the race. I'm just doing the calculation once again on my my calculator. 137 points would be the gap. If Luke was to be able to make this pass with the fastest lap point, he would be champion. I can tell you that much. So this could be championship guaranteed for Luke Mitchell with a swing and with an extra point here. The question is, does he get ahead of his teammate? Does he know that that is just how close it is? He needs just about 141 points of a gap right now. He's got a 139 point gap, 138 point gap, I believe. So it's 3 points that the swing from first to second. We'll see if Luke Mitchell is able to do it. He's probably got 3, perhaps 4 overtaking opportunities.
And this is an unenviable position for Riboli to be in here, because if he wins, the team will be unhappy with him. If he doesn't win, he'll be unhappy with himself. So,
well, I don't know if that's going to quite be the case, because of course, potentially, in fact, we know Luke's going to wrap it up next round anyway. So overall, it doesn't matter that much, I don't think, and that would be why I don't think they're exactly going to be keen to swap these around. But let's wait and see as we open up the DRS for one of 3 DRS activation zones here at Singapore on this modern layout, and we'll see if Luke Mitchell is going to get past his teammate, if he's even going to think about it. He dives to the inside, he wants to get this championship done. However, Massimiliano Riboli is going to hold on to the position for the time being. So first of 3 potential attacks for Luke Mitchell is fruitless.
and if these did crash into each other, joys for Bobby Vakanov, who's gotten himself up to 3rd. He would love to inherit victory here, so Alpha Sierra need to be so careful not to throw this one away as well. So far apart from Luke Mitchell winning the championship, he needs to make sure he doesn't take Riboli out here. Oh, and look how slow Riboli was through that chicane.
So as we go into Sector 3, it's going to be one more chance for Luke Mitchell to wrap up the championship today. He's purple in the first sector as well. I'm sure he's going to take fastest lap point here this evening, which would just about take him to the top step of the championship podium. They're so close, and it's not the best of runs out of that corner for Luke Mitchell, who's trying to attack his teammate. They'll have one more DRS zone to try and get the job done. 0.5 of a second is the gap as they apply the brakes now down into turn 16 and turn 17. It's going to come too early. I think it's going to be Massimiliano Riboli who is going to win here in Singapore. Luke Mitchell will complete an Alpha Sierra 1-2. He backs off to let his teammate have his crowning moment. Riboli finally wins in 2023. Luke Mitchell finishes in 2nd. I'm almost certain it's not enough for the championship at this stage in proceedings unless Maxime Bilou is going to lose out on a position. They'll formation fly all the way home. We wait to see where Maxime Bilou is once he finishes. He finishes in 4th position. Ed, I don't think Luke Mitchell has done enough, but there you go. Formation all the way home for the Alpha Sierra crew.
Yeah, exactly. Julio was just a little bit too strong for him to seal it today, but it's surely just a matter of getting to the finish in race 1 in Japan, and it will be all over. But also bad luck for Tuomela, losing 2 positions to Justin Van der Spissen and his teammate Patrick O'Magnussen right at the final lap there.
And yes, it's 138 points the gap. So insurmountable, yes. However, not literally insurmountable. 47 points are the maximum you can get here in GPVWC. So he is a whopping 3 points off Luke Mitchell. He's, there you go, there's the number 41. That's not Mitchell. Oh, making contact with his teammate, doing a few donuts. That's Raboli. He'll come into the pits. We're going to get some interviews in a moment. Very late finish today, actually. I think this is the longest FS2 race we've done for a while. It's exactly a 2-hour broadcast.
Over 16 laps as well. Yeah.
Yes, so there you go. We'll get some interviews in a moment. We're just going to make sure we confirm your results for you. And there we go. Luca, oh, dearie me, that's not right. Back on the first page. Massi Rapoli finally wins in 2023. Luke Mitchell is in second position. Alpha Sierra 1-2, their first of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Bobby Buckenhall is on the podium. A fantastic result for him. Maxime Bilou down in fourth. Then it's Justin van der Smissen in fifth. Patrick Magnussen, Noah Tuamela, Magnus Ockenhau, Craig Patterson, and Mateusz Sokolowski rounding out the top 10. The rest of your points being made up of Dan Hayek, Justin Ruin, Johannes Leppit, Jorn Dix, and Mike Bell. Nick Kuiper just outside in 16th position. Scott Morris and Joe Gillett down to 17th. Then it's Floyd Hasser and Tom Parker. Luca Gray is then just ahead of Domenico Scarpelli, Luca Thielin, Joshua Dexter, Terence Grech, MacArthur Mahler, Philip Savitsky through to 27th. Then it's Tommy Kuvian, Matthew Spishkan, and Brandon Roberts for the rest of your grid. So, Ed Hunter, that was a fantastic race. Japanese Grand Prix is next up. Just 3 rounds left in this championship. Japan, Abu Dhabi, and finally Brazil on the 24th of October. And, well, we're waiting for anyone who may want to do an interview. I'm going to give them 4 minutes, I think, will be fair. And I'll ask you, Ed, as just confirmation, by the way, from Matthews, that Maxime Bilou is now the only one who can catch Luke Mitchell, and Seifert can no longer mathematically win the title. But overall, what are your thoughts on the race?
It was certainly very tense with the title permutations we were desperately trying to work out, of course. And the only reason we had to do it is because Luke Mitchell has done so well this season. But shout out to Boulier, he really pulled his nerve today. And he even got spun around, had a horrible first lap here, and still was able to get up to the top 4 in the end. So I think that was a very, very impressive drive. The KV86 powerhouse, both of those cars are really, really quick today, with Tuamela winning in race 1 and them getting a 5th and 6th here. Oh no, I should say 6th and 7th after a really terrible first lap as well for both of them in race 2 as well. So lots of great recovery drives. Got to feel a bit for Kings because I think before Ockenhauer hit them, I think they were on for a really good result here. And I'm a little bit biased, I guess, because I've got a good relationship with Mike Bell. But yeah, I think great to see Alpha Sierra take a 1-2 for the first time this season, I believe. And this time Raboli leading the train home. So I think great news for the Italian to finally get one up on his teammate and get one up on everyone.
And so, first of all, I think it's probably best to drag Noah Tuamela and his team manager into the call. We've got the KV86 powerhouse guys inside of the box. Guys, welcome along. We'll start with you, Noah. That was a fantastic drive, and you've won another race.
Yeah, I did win another race. That was cool.
And how was it today? Singapore, very difficult track. Yeah, well, just talk us through your race.
Well, Singapore was difficult in the way because the grip was pretty low compared to other tracks, and it being a street track always brings some difficulty. But it was cool. Qualified, best qualifying of the team so far, P3. Got a really good start, jumped into P1, and stayed there for the rest of the race and won. And well, Patrick Kura was also P2 for a moment there, but then something happened and he dropped down, which is unfortunate. And then race 2 was, I started P12, and I crashed out on lap 1 due to some racing incidents as usual. I went down to like 29th, then somehow made my way back up to P7 along with Patre, which is, well, that's some unbelievably good points looking at where I basically started. So that was nice.
And we'll go over to Christian. Christian, welcome to the box. Fifth in the standings at the moment, KV86 powerhouse. Where do you think you can go towards the end of this season? Is fourth perhaps on the radar?
I mean, well, the objectives changed many times this season. We've had objectives change from 10th to 9th to 8th to 6th immediately. We didn't even touch 7th. And now we're just going for whatever we can reach. I mean, Noah and Pat are doing a very good job. Today was a very messed up race. Scary to watch both parts, but it's okay. It all turned out fine in the end. Kind of, I suppose. As I said, we're aiming as high as possible. If third is on the radar, cool. If fourth is on the radar, also cool. Whatever we can get, well, I'd say we're happy with it, but we always aim as high as possible, so that's the aim.
And well, thank you, gents, for joining us. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
This was Noah Tomella and Christian Vazdar, your KV86 powerhouse drivers. I'm going to drag one more interview in, I think, and I think we're going to get a chat to Patrika Magnusson. Patrika, welcome to the box. I'm going to hand over to Ed, and Ed can lead this one.
Thanks, Tom. So, Patrika, race 1, you made a really good start along with. Go on.
Yeah. No. Okay, continue.
Okay, sorry. It's nice to finish the question before you answer it sometimes, because otherwise I don't know what you're talking about. But you made a really good start along with Noah into turn 1. Noah made a little bit of contact with Luke, and you were able to just get your way up into second, and then it all went a bit pear-shaped for you, and you lost your front wing, unfortunately, in a little bit of contact with Luke made, sadly. I think it was turn 7, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was no, I don't remember. I think it's turn 7. Yeah, it was
End of
completely
long
my
straight
fault.
in the first sector.
Like, I'm going to the braking zone, and I see Luke Mitchell going inside, and I look at the marker and I read 100 as 50, so I start braking at 100 when the normal braking zone is like 70 or 60 meters, and then I just candle brake check Luke Mitchell accidentally, and I go straight into the wall. But my team boss told me that Luke got damage to his front wing, which is unfortunate, and it was completely my fault. So.
Fair enough, but do keep in mind, Patrika, that what you say will be used in a steward's inquiry against you.
I don't care. If I get penalty, I deserve it. I can't do anything.
Okay. Honesty is usually the best policy. Then race 2, I think, was it you that I saw? There were a lot of cars spun on the first lap, but I think yours was one of them.
It was Noah.
It was Noah. Okay,
Noah.
yeah, good. I didn't ask Noah about that, so I'm sure he's very grateful. But it was a race of recovering through the pack for both you and Noah in race 2, with all the carnage going on. I think towards the end, you gained a couple of positions right on the final lap, didn't you?
Yep. I think we were running P11 or something behind Maxime and Skillet, and I was stuck behind those two for like 10 laps or something. And then Skillet has a crash and everything goes down, and then we're stuck behind Van der Smissen, and then we finished behind Smissen. So it was a good point finish in the end for both of us getting points, actually.
Absolutely. So I guess the sky is the limit now for KV86 Powerhouse. So I know race 1 didn't go to plan, but race 2 you recovered beautifully, Patrick. So thank you very much for talking to us.
Oh yes, thank you. Bye.
Right. I think we might have time to interview Mike Bell, who is begging me to interview him. So we'll have a laugh. Let's see. Oh no, I've picked up the wrong guy. There we go. Mike Bell is now in the commentary box then. So P12 in race 1, Mike. And then reverse group pole for race 2. But sadly, a little bit of contact with Magnus Ockenhaug ended in disaster for you. So, but certainly...
not just for me, the
Tom
sad part of it was that the two Kings cars both got involved in were the last 2 away. So thanks to someone else's stupidity, being desperate to get back in, he's in the lead, he puts it in the wall and just comes back and drives straight into me, and it's just heartbreaking. But no, good
Yeah,
fun.
heartbreaking for everyone involved, really. I'm sure Magnus would rather it hadn't happened as well, but too late now, I guess. Race 1 looked like a lot of fun. It looked like it felt really like the Mike Bell that I was so used to commentating in Academy was back there. You had a great fight with Bobby Vakinov and Craig Patterson and Terence Grech as well.
Yeah, it was pretty good early on. Me and Bobby had a good couple of laps swapping positions, but it's my first race in FS2 this year.
It is, yes,
Didn't
Thomas
have
Tommy.
the most amount of prep on account of the fact I was racing in real life this weekend, so I only really got to it yesterday. So thanks for Luke for helping me out in finding the pace, and didn't really all come together until like the middle of qualifying. And yeah, and then obviously had a fight with Bobby, got him off the line, he got me back, I got him back, and then he got me back again. So good change of positions. But then largely it was just I was watching this battle for ninth in front of me, and it was just going crazy, and I'm just like, oh, okay, this will be cool. Maybe I can
It
catch
was
it. And
Ockenhaug and Hayek.
there was a few more people than that. I think everyone else you listed with me battling was in there at one point.
I
Like,
didn't want to
so
list the whole
five
list again
wide.
twice, mate. It would feel a bit redundant.
But no, it was great fun, and I caught the back of the fight, dropped off it, caught it back up again, managed to pass Craig, and that's there's about 6 years of us going up against each other, so that felt good. And then just coming into the final corner, or final chicane, they just 5 cars wide, and I'm like, huh. I wonder what's going to happen here. I come around the corner and 3 of them are backwards, so it's like, oh, cool, P12, and then I end up on a reverse grid pole, which is, brilliant. And I thought, well, if I could just, hold the lead for a couple laps, I don't think I'll hold the lead through DRS, but Magnus got me down the inside, fairly all right move, ran me out a bit on exit, and I got beached on that exit curb, so I just had no drive. Then Massey got me, and obviously I've been racing with Massey for a bit, and that was good to see. And I thought, okay, if I can just try and stick with them and wait for something to happen, which pretty much played out as it was. Like I was chatting with Luke and Tom during the race, and to everyone's surprise, I actually had the fastest lap for a while, which was pretty hilarious. And then they went side by side. Magnus put it in the wall, and I thought, this is my chance. Maybe I don't take the lead back, but definitely I take one of the two, and yeah, they got driven into. So hard luck. Dropped back, and I was just trying to hang on for a point. Dropped out the points on half around the last lap, and then come into the final complex, and someone's backwards, and managed to get around the outside of Scott Morris on the final corner. So I stole a point. I think he planted it in the wall actually, so that's real unfortunate for him. But yeah, it was good fun to make a comeback for FS2, and yeah, who knows if things line up, maybe I'll try and do a couple more.
Oh, certainly that would be interesting. I think Jack Nicole said in the YouTube chat, "Oh, look how well Kings are doing now. They've got actually good drivers on," which I think was a bit insulting to Scott Mitchell-Malm and the rest of the regular team at Kings. But I guess regardless, it was sort of a backhanded compliment to you guys.
Wow, no, I mean Jack and Scott are both pretty high quality drivers in their own right, and I mean obviously Tom is really good, and I was definitely there, so. Yeah, we were hanging on and doing our best, but I mean, at the end, really disappointing. We're in, was it like a 6-7 way battle for the lead, something like that, and the 2 guys that get spat out the back are both of us. So real shame, but
sometimes it's just the luck's not on your side, like you say. But I love hearing that you and Luke were in the same chat, because I also noticed, as well as all the help Luke gave getting you set up for the race, he race 2 deliberately didn't overtake you at any point. He was content to sit behind and wait for things to kick off in front of him.
He did mention at one point, which I saw the gap was opening and closing to him. Like every time, we had a few corners pull away, because he was nursing some damage from early on. And it clicked on me about 10 laps into the race. I'm like, well, he's been behind me for a good few laps now, and he's not gone for anything. And then he comes out with this is a real weird compliment, Mike, but I'm just waiting for you to run wide so I can stick a move in. So obviously I must have been doing all right, and obviously he managed to weasel up a drain pipe through the accident, and he got out the other side in one piece. So I mean, credit to him for finding the one bit of track that wasn't covered by something yellow.
You were sideways at one point, so I'm surprised more people didn't get collected there. But anyway, but thanks for talking to us, Mike, and congrats on the P12 and for putting on a fantastic show, as you regularly do as well. It's great to see you and Luke, not just together in touring cars, Van der Birch, but also here in FS2 as well, fighting together. So
that's what it's all about, isn't it? Putting on a good show. If you can only do sporadic rounds, make it memorable.
And sporadic commentary as well. Right. So, have we got time to talk to Dan Hedrick?
I don't think we do.
Yeah, I think Mike. I did let Mike ramble on a bit there, didn't I? Sorry about
that. Well, Ed, thank you very much for joining me for FS2 in Singapore. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for Japan, where Luke Mitchell will shortly, finally, wrap up that title. We'll see you all later. Good night.
Thank you.